now that I've been interrupted a few times for various reasons, I don't know what's going on. What are we doing, Chris? What were we talking about? We were talking about Dream Theater a second ago. That's sure not what we're talking about. What are we doing?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff. Mike Portnoy back in Dream Theater is some scary music news. Let's talk about scary music since we're talking.
Oh, that's right. That's your bad transition you're going with. God, I like it.
I do my best every week, except when we take a 3-week break.
Except for when we take weeks off.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jeff, and welcome to the Sound Judgment Podcast,
where every episode we'll be discussing all of the important musical topics, from reviews to which member of Motley Crue is the most vile.
I'm gonna judge the officials. I'm gonna judge all the judges. It's gonna take you people years to recover from all my opinions. No, so we're talking about scary music, and by talking about, I mean we are gonna do what we do. I almost said what we do best, and God, that is not true. We're gonna do what we do. No descriptive term there. We're gonna do what we do, which is we're trying to sort scary music into categories that make sense.
Yeah, I totally did my best Jeff impression, and I made 4. I don't know if categories is the best word. Maybe qualifiers as things that people find in scary music, and some of these check more than one box, and that's why I would say maybe not categories so much as qualifiers or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of what we've done for a lot of things, because I like things being in groups, but obviously that's never, it's never really that black and white. So I think we should start with what would be, if we were to make an iceberg chart, which we did debate doing and then decided it didn't really work that well, what would be the peak of the iceberg, though? And that's like what I'm calling Halloween party music.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we've talked about this before, too. So I'm just gonna run through this. That would be, your thriller, your highway to hell, your movie soundtracks, video game soundtracks. Right, the pop music, effectively, that is vaguely scary in theme.
Yeah, I would say, as well as any kind of music that just kind of has that feel about it. Like a lot of people, I know Insidious certainly made this your favorite trope, but Tiptoe Through the Tulips, some people just kind of find it unsettling. Tiny Tim's a scary guy. I never trust someone who wears a diaper their whole life.
Yeah, exactly. The trope of this is old, therefore it's scary, right?
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Or just the way the music is composed, because I feel that way about California Dreaming. I've talked about that before, and I think it's just, again, what the Papas actually did aside. It's just a song that it's like in like a weird key. It just kind of sounds strange to me sometimes. The way that the chorus vocals are kind of like not quite in tune.
I'm sorry, did you just, blatantly call them the Papas and completely ignore the Mamas in the Mamas and the Papas?
No, the Mamas didn't commit the crime, though. The Papas did.
Okay, that was intentional.
Papa, yes.
Oh my God. I thought you were just, ignoring the fact that there were women in that group.
No. No, the Papas are the criminals, and they did some scary things, but, the Mamas, as far as I know, are innocent.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I'm on board.
And then, like you said, strange video game music. This is where I'd put Lavender Town from Pokemon, or some people have said the Potion Shop song from Zelda. Weird, horror punk can go here. And then songs that are maybe not necessarily unsettling themselves, but have strange lyrical subjects. Timothy was an example. If you know the song Timothy by the Buoys, it's a song about eating a person inside of a mine.
It's a really fun song about people being trapped in a mine and they're starving to death, so they eat one of the people who stuck with them. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you listen to the song, it's a novelty song, right?
Yeah.
This was a Dr. Demento hit. It's a goofy, fairly upbeat, pop rock tune. It's a really fun time, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But lyrically, it's a little odd.
Yeah.
In this category, I also want to give a shout out here, as I was trying to find more examples of what people think of when they think of scary music. I found a great Reddit thread and the thread was the first album that terrified you.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a comment by user _and_red_all_over. And the comment was, quote, "The Eagles' greatest hits. How is this one of the top selling albums of all time? A terrifying thought. Then you realize the people who paid money for that album, they can vote." That obviously applies in this category as well. God, I hate the Eagles. I'm so glad someone put it up there.
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. So I think that's enough. That is the least interesting level of spooky, creepy, disturbing, whatever music.
Yes.
It's the surface level stuff that everyone knows what it is, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's the easy stuff that, type in spooky on Spotify, this is what you're gonna get, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
so then,
and some of these, how much they may like actually sound spooky is a little bit, up for debate. Obviously, Halloween music might sound scarier than, some of the pop songs. But we're just talking about the surface level here. We're going to start getting into some of the more bizarre stuff now.
And I mean, no, in all fairness, a lot of this stuff isn't like, I'm not digging 6 feet under to find like the creepiest stuff in existence, right? There's a certain point where we're not going there, but there is another level here, and this is where I think it's probably best if we just try and decide what categories these things go into. Your next category, the way you described it, you were calling strange stream. Music specifically made to be unsettling, but is still fairly commercial.
Well, I kind of combined that with the top level because you kind of did too. Once again, if you look at my notes, it's like strange video game music and Timothy and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Yeah. No, you're right. So that's sort of like one extra step down. I'm sorry. I forgot that you were adding stuff like Primus and Bad Seeds in that same realm here. That's what I had in mind.
Yeah, so my initial thought was, there's like surface level, and then strange stream was like stuff that was intended to be more creepy, whereas top level was accidentally creepy.
Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. So where would you put? Because we've discussed this song before. There's a song by the band Suicide, who I'm not sure if we're allowed to say that name on some platforms anymore, but screw it. There was a band called Suicide.
There's a band called Suicide in Minecraft.
Is there really? Is that a thing?
No, it's people, because you can't say kill yourself. People say kill yourself in Minecraft.
Oh, I've just seen people say things like unalived. It's like a
censor duck. Unalived.
I've seen like unalive. Like I want to bring back
Slide.
Ann Hero. No, Ann Hero needs to come back.
So there's a band called Ann Hero.
No, there's a band called Suicide. They were like a early punk-ish related band. They had a song called, if I had to pick a song, I'm going to pick the song Frankie Teardrop, which is a 10-minute long assault of member Martin Rev, who played a variety of synths. It's only a 2-person band. So you have Martin Rev, who's playing a bunch of synths, used drum machines, etc. And he has these like really heavy, looped drone music going on for 10 minutes, while vocalist Alan Vega half sings, half speaks lyrics about a man named Frankie whose life sucks, and you have lines like, Frankie can't make it because things are just too hard. Frankie can't make enough money. Frankie can't buy enough food. Frankie's getting evicted. And over the course of 10 minutes, you hear about how Frankie's life is just miserable, and he takes a gun and he kills his family and himself. And in the midst of all this, you have Alan Vega shrieking periodically, just very genuinely, just like a scream as if something startles him. It is loud, it is piercing, it is drenched in like reverb and delay. It's genuinely pretty unsettling. In the end, it's still a punk song, basically. But this kind of thing, where would you put something like that? Is that still in this level of fairly mainstream music, or do you think that would qualify as a little more something, a little more extreme, a little more creepy?
So if we're talking about an iceberg, after Strange Stream, I have Bizarre Music, and I think it would go under that. And that's music that's compositionally disturbing. I think it being 10 minutes long and having all the screaming and stuff, that's a little too intense for your average mainstream listener. I'm gonna say I think it would fit in with, because I have things like Mr. Bungle and The Residents and Butthole Surfers and Buckethead and noise rock and drone music in this next category of bizarre music. And I think even if it's maybe a little in between Strange Stream and bizarre music, if we're making an iceberg, I think it would fit in that category a little better.
Okay, I mean, I agree. I'm curious where you fall, because I personally, I mean, my personal take on it is, despite having listened to things that we are going to put, so and so, quote unquote, deeper in this scale, Freaky Teardrop is one of the more disturbing songs I've ever really listened to. But I also, again, I can accept that, like, it's very obviously a dude playing keyboards and a dude singing and talking and screaming, and it's a early punk-ish song at its core. Like, it's not some of the stuff we're going to be getting into here shortly.
And that's I think why we decided not to make like a tier list or an iceberg, is because it doesn't necessarily, I mean, first off, it's opinion based kind of, but it's very difficult to place some of these, like, knowing that this song makes me feel weirder, but this other song might make someone else feel more weird because of various reasons.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things. Anytime I look up, like, what people think are the saddest songs ever written, and in fact, I saw a thread at one point on Reddit where the person said, I'm looking for songs to cry myself asleep to at night. I'm talking things sadder than, and their example was a song by that XXX Temptation, or however you say his name.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the fact that is someone's definition of the saddest music they've ever heard is, I don't want to say, like, laughable, because you can feel whatever emotion fits for you, but God, that is not my definition of sad in any way, shape, or form. Not him, at least, right?
Yeah.
So, okay,
we'll be doing our saddest music iceberg in December, since Christmas is the season of suicide. I'm sorry, of Anti-Hero.
No, that's not what we're doing. We are not doing sad music in Christmas. I mean, there is sad Christmas music, but that's not what we're doing in December. Not a chance. No. So, I want to ask you about this, because you have some interesting examples here. When you're referring to bizarre music, so this music that is compositionally disturbing to a mainstream, so to speak.
Niche.
Yeah. I'm curious what you mean by some of these. So you have a section here written down that I'm looking at your notes here. Music with intentionally bad delivery. And you have bad in quotes, and in parentheses, not the right word. Like, for example, you have Butthole Surfers and Buckethead. Can you try? I want to know a little more about what you mean by this.
Well, and also,
if you can find a way to word it.
Oh, and also Jeff Buckley's Murder, Suicide, Meteor, Slave is on there.
Okay.
My intent with that is, I mean, look, man, you know and I know both that Jeff Buckley can sing his ass off. But if you listen to that song, that's not what he's doing. He's kind of like, it's like a mumbling, right? I haven't listened to it in a week. It's like a mumbling.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Kurt Cobaining his way through the song, Eddie Veddering it.
It is not a song where Jeff Buckley is at his vocal peak, and it's obviously intentional. Like, It's not that he wasn't like drunk out of his mind or something. It's an artistic choice.
Exactly. You've just described it perfectly. The Butthole Surfers, again, they're all very talented, but the music they put out is often intentionally kind of rough around the edges.
Okay.
They're kind of sloppy on purpose. I think Buckethead has some stuff where he's a little bit sloppy on purpose. He makes some artistic decisions to sound like shit.
Okay.
Obviously not all of it. Dude has 700 albums this week.
I mean, yeah. I get what you mean, though. Okay, but so we're not necessarily looking at music that is scary, so to speak, in any way. This is just like what some people would call unlistenable, probably.
Yeah.
Right, like I'm going to use, as I frequently go back to, I'm going to use my dad as the basis of what would my dad think if I put this on.
Yeah.
And I think if I put most butthole surfers on, my dad would just be like, what the hell is this? Like, turn this off.
Right.
This is garbage, right?
Yeah.
You also have noise rock. Are you referring to things like a Merzbow, like that sort of thing?
Yeah, that would be a good example. Stuff like that I've seen people say, you know, and a lot of this is like, oh, they pointed out a specific Merzbow song, and then maybe someone else pointed out like a Swan song that made them feel uncomfortable. So I was just like, all these one-off noise rock songs, I could just kind of say, you know, any specific noise rock song or any non-specific noise rock song could make someone feel uncomfortable. Often the genre is sort of designed that way.
It's loud, it's staticky, it's dissonant. Yeah, absolutely.
Extreme shock music and metal, again, is kind of like along the same lines. It's often created to be, you know, unsettling, talking often stuff about, you know, dismembering and killing, and
so we're talking like Cannibal Corpse.
Cannibal Corpse would be a good example, yes. So that kind of stuff that, you know, really made parents like scared in the 90s and shit like that. Drone music, I put Bela Lugosi's Dead in here, although it probably could have also fit in Strange Stream, maybe on the border of the two. I just know that a lot of people look at that one as one of the epitome of like creepy Halloween songs. I have G.G. Allen in here just because I guess some people thought like the person is unsettling. I think he sucks and his music sucks and there's nothing creepy about any of it.
Yeah, I was actually gonna question that because I also kind of questioned that I would put G.G. Allen in the next category that we'll get to in a moment here. But really, I'm gonna throw my opinion out there. No, I'm gonna throw my opinion out there. In G.G. Allen actually belongs in the category of he did nothing that we actually need to talk about, and the world would be a better place if we pretended he didn't exist.
I'm gonna agree with that.
He brought nothing to the table that really needed to be said and done. Okay? I feel bad because my understanding is that his life probably sucked, and there is a reason that he became what he was. But we can stop. We can stop pretending G.G. Allen was worth talking about and move on, right? Put him in the category with Richard Wagner and Varg Vikernes and move on. There's my take for the night. There's my take that's gonna piss somebody off for the night.
I am a little pissed off because you know what? I'm not gonna defend Wagner. I like that one song.
No, absolutely do not defend Wagner.
I like that one song, but that's not acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, Wagner wrote music that people enjoy, but guess what? You can replace it, right? He's not irreplaceable. There's other music from the time that is accomplishing what you want. If we just like kind of pretended he never existed, the world would be okay in 10, 15, 20 years, and we'd move on, right? Make him a footnote and move on.
If only G.G. Allen's music had the lack of impact that his micro penis did.
Yeah.
And then also The Caretaker is a good example of this. The Caretaker being an album by... Please, Jeff, help me. Or no, The Caretaker.
The Caretaker's
the musician. The album that I had in mind was Everywhere at the End of Time.
Thank you. I was going to say, go ahead. You know this. No. So The Caretaker is the name the artist goes under when he did a project, specifically the one that people refer to is Everywhere at the End of Time, which has a runtime of bordering 7 hours, I think. And it's divided into segments, and it is a recreation of someone's trip through having dementia. So it begins, you hear music from like the 30s and 40s, but everything's a little staticky, right? Like it's just all a little fuzzy, but it's there. The memories are still there, but they're a little fuzzy. And over the course of hours, it fades and breaks apart into again, we're getting into almost noise rock territory here. It's this staticky, fuzzy, indescribable mess otherwise. And again, it's a representation of someone's falling as their brain is unfortunately deteriorating on them. 100% do not recommend trying to listen to it all in one sitting. It's really not a good time. I know it's one of those things that's sometimes laughable. Like I've seen people say like, oh, this is really tacky and stupid, but I really do think sitting and really listening to it for an extended period of time does something to you. It's not a good feeling and I don't recommend it, but I am glad it exists.
Turn me into a spooky vampire.
It didn't do that to me. It just definitely made me sad for a while, though, right? Like, it's just not, it's not a good time. But it's a brilliant project that I am glad exists. It's incredible.
Doesn't take a lot to make me sad. I'll tell you what makes me sad is my final category, music with disturbing and unsettling backgrounds, where the music may or may not be unsettling itself, but the background's pretty disturbing. Stuff like Mayhem and Burzum with their murder and their church burning.
What with their 3 people died because of their existence. Well, not just them, but because of the whole scene specifically. But yeah,
the Charles Manson albums, I heard he did some bad things.
Yeah, I understand he wasn't the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
But he did write some decent hippie music if you're into that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, Polly by Nirvana, which I understand is about the murder of an actual parrot.
Well, the actual thing aside, that aside, I'm assuming you know the story about the people who sorry, I hear you, like, breathing behind me, and I'm trying so hard to respond to you seriously, and I can't. I hear those little chuckles coming from your side. You drive me nuts. So no, Polly by Nirvana is the story about a girl who is kidnapped and raped and tortured repeatedly, and she tricks her kidnapper into letting her escape, like letting her loose, and she escapes. It is also a song that apparently at some point there were people who were copycatting the song. They were raping a girl while singing the song to her. So the song itself is moderately disturbing, and it has disturbing backgrounds behind it.
Yeah. Which you shouldn't do that to people. You should not do that to people.
No, I don't know if we've made it clear enough, but please don't murder and rape people. We here at the Sound Judgment Podcast are vehemently against these things.
Let them out of your basement, please.
Jesus.
Jeff, there's like 2 people listening to this podcast. We're so deep on the internet that our listeners have to have someone in the basement. Let them go.
No.
What do you mean
The real thing, Christopher, is they... No. The real thing is that they are the ones in the basements, just like we are.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's really how this works.
We're all captive.
We are the basement dwellers. Anyway, more music with disturbing or unsettling background. What else do you have on here? What's in your wallet?
Well, I got Daddy by Korn, and no one wants Daddy in their wallet. I think that's how the song got
what's
written.
What's the deal with Daddy by Korn, Christopher? You wanna get into that one?
Yeah, Jeff. Daddy is a song off of Korn's debut album in which, at the end of the track, Jonathan Davis has a fucking actual mental crying breakdown because the song is not like a directly about, but full of allusions to the fact that he was molested as a child.
Yeah, I mean he was abused. I want to say it was by a relative.
It was by like a friend of his father. The song itself makes allusions to it actually being the parent, and that's the part that's like truth.
But that was not the case in real life. But
yeah.
He was in fact like abused by somebody as a child, and it is a song about those feelings. And yeah, the end of it really, like, if you listen to the full song, you really do just like hear a man basically having a mental breakdown in the studio.
Oh, the other band members had to come in and, like, hug him. You can actually hear, like, the door opening and closing on the track for one of the members to go in and hold him.
You just made it even worse. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was having, like, a real-ass breakdown. So, if you ever want to ruin a fucking party, that song will do it in a fucking second.
Yeah, don't put that on your Touch Tunes jukebox at your favorite bar. Just throwing that out there.
I have like black metal and 90s gangster rap due to the actual violence that was going on in the scene at the time. There were a lot of dead people in both scenes.
Around the same time, too, which I find interesting. Just saying. But yeah, so I mean, obviously both scenes, the northern European black metal scene centered around mostly Norway and Sweden. There were, as we mentioned already, like multiple murders, multiple church burnings. There was a man who was murdered simply because, why not? And that was
wrong place, wrong time.
That was Faust. Is that right? I don't want to be pointing fingers at the wrong man, but it was the drummer of Emperor, I want to say, wasn't it?
I think that
Please
sounds
correct
correct.
me.
Oh, you know what? Here it is. Yeah, 1993, he was sentenced to 14 years in prison. He's been out of prison since 2003.
So you have a man who basically he was in an area that was popular among mostly gay men. He was approached by somebody, and he basically agreed, like, yeah, sure, let's go in the woods, where he decided to then just stab and then kick this man in the head and murder him because he felt like it. Is kind of the reason that anyone gives. It literally came down to, I don't know, I wanted to know what it was like to kill a man, so he fucking did it. Yeah,
don't do it.
Some not great people in that scene. Now, what I think is interesting is, I think black metal in general kind of fits a couple topics here, is the perfect example, right? It's bizarre music. It falls in that whole extreme metal, weird, trying to be shocking genre. But there's specific aspects of it and specific members of it that are genuinely frightening.
Yeah, and that pushes it a little deeper into the non-existent iceberg.
It does, except I want to like clarify that, like, not all of them, right? Like not every person involved in the black metal scene in the 90s or ever has been a murderer or a Nazi or whatever.
No, a lot of them. There are a lot of people in the scene who are cool dudes who just like weird music. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of them are people who just acknowledge, like, no, it's music that it's cool music. This is what I like. I like the limit, or I like the image. I like the theatrics. I like the music. Whatever. There just unfortunately are an odd number of people who take it a little too seriously. Right? They take their satanic messages a little too seriously, a little too far.
You gotta earn the V in true.
The V in true, because it's spelled TRVU, right?
Yeah, or TRVE.
Like I'm sorry, what did I say? TRVU. TRVE, and then it's cult, KVLT, right? You gotta be true cult. Is that, am I remembering this? Okay.
Yeah, the day Faust committed the murder, his U turned into a V.
These people are dumb as shit, Christopher.
Faust. Then I have genuine, real, actual shock music, NSBM, unironically racist music. A lot of that came out in country western music back in the day. I don't want to talk about it too much. I don't like it, but
no. Okay. Hold on. What do you mean? Like, I know NSBM is National Socialist black metal, so these are black metal bands that are openly Nazis.
Yeah.
But what else do we mean by genuine shock music?
Jeff, you ever hear of a guy named Johnny Rebel?
I know the name.
Oh.
This is really not... I genuinely don't know what we're getting into.
We're getting into, like, actual...
I'm getting the feeling he's a murderer or something.
No, he's not a murderer. He just has a song that's about ship those N-words back. And that's uncomfortable.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we're getting into music that's offensive.
Yes. Like I said, stuff that's actually shocking. Not like, I fucked a dead corpse, whatever. No, actual, like, I want to kill people because of their race or religion, and this is an actual belief that I hold. Here's an album I wrote about it.
Okay. I gotcha. Well, alright. Again, so this is one of those ones that, like, I don't know if I'd call that scary. It is definitely upsetting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, alright, and then you have your note here of songs about murders by people who may have murdered.
Do you want to talk about the shitty rap song?
Please go ahead.
So, in my travels, while looking for information on this, I found a claim that a rapper named The Biggest Fin 4800 wrote a song called Fadey Free, in which he describes doing some unaliving to someone, and it turns out he actually committed a murder. And the song may be a general walkthrough of what he did, which is not a good idea because it sent him to prison.
Remember that time O.J. Simpson wrote a book called "If I Did It,"
and the words
details, regardless, he just detailed how he committed a murder if he did it. Right?
Yeah.
That's basically what this song is. This song is a guy just like detailing how he committed a murder. And it's one of the dumbest things you could ever imagine. And what I find most upsetting is the music video is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, God, you should not be allowed to be this dumb, but make a music video that's actually this cool.
So now that we've gone through what I'm calling my qualifiers.
Yeah.
What do you make of it, Jeff? What do you make of creepy music?
I think they're good ideas. I have a handful of wrenches I want to throw in, and I want to see if we can decide what makes sense and where they might belong.
So you're like a wrench version of the Hammer Brothers from Mario.
Yes, exactly. Well, no, I'm the little mole guys who throw wrenches on the airships.
Oh, yeah.
God, like you're gonna make a Mario reference, just acknowledge that
one
exists.
Sorry, I fucked up. I podcast over. I suck.
It's fine. Where do you put... okay, so I'm just gonna bring up a couple cool examples, too, that even though they have pretty obvious placements. The Downward Spiral by 9 Inch Nails, right? Not only is it, like, fairly disturbing, angry, upsetting music, Trent Reznor moved to 10050 CeeLo Drive in Los Angeles, which is the site of the Manson murders where Sharon Tate lived. And that's what he used. That's what he used. And even scarier, where studio.
Roman Polanski lived.
Oh, I actually don't think I remembered that. I knew that at one point, but I always forget that that's a thing.
Roman Polanski was dating her at the time.
I always forget that that's a thing, because I always forget that Roman Polanski is like 140 years old.
And a piece of shit.
Yeah, I knew that.
And a massive child predator piece of shit who fled the country rather than getting executed, which is what we should do to pedophiles.
Okay, I don't even know what to do with that statement, so I'm gonna go back to 9 Inch Nails. So
I think this is scratching the surface of music with an unsettling background, because he recorded this song in the house decades after it happened, and I mean, man, houses with history can be scary, but at the end of the day, you're probably not going to have like a horror movie haunted house experience.
Yeah, like it's not actually haunted in any way, but I think it is an interesting backstory. So it is like touching the surface.
Probably the most haunting part of this whole experience for him, if I had to make a guess, would be the fact that he was approached by Sharon Tate's sister, who like made sure that he wasn't like recording the album as a publicity stunt to exploit her death.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
And apparently, like, after she left, he, like, broke down actually, like, realizing what happened in the house. Like, I guess it didn't, like, fully hit him.
It didn't click with him. Like, he knew the fact of this is where a person was murdered.
But, like, he didn't think about, like, the person and the effect that it had on, like, everyone around them.
Well, I think that's kind of an easy thing to do. Is it's really easy to know, like, oh, well, you know, this person died or this happened here.
Yeah.
It's another thing to know.
Yeah.
Like,
but I have to think that had to be like a haunting experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think the album needs to be, you know, at least acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
How about, do you know the song Napalm Sticks to Kids?
No.
I am so sad I didn't send this to you, because I should have. Because the thing is, it is a super, super happy, fun song. It's really not, but it's a kind of a jaunty sounding, not really sing-song. It's basically a guy strumming a guitar and kind of like speaking words.
Mm-hmm.
And it was obviously an anti-war song. Let me read you a couple wonderful lines here. You ready?
Oh, finally, we're getting our horror story.
We shoot the sick, the young, the lame. We do our best to kill and maim, because the kids all count the same. Napalm sticks to kids. See that family over there? Watch me get 'em with a pair. Blood and guts just everywhere. Napalm sticks to kids. A squad of Kong in the grass, but all the fighting's long since past. Crispy critters in a mass. Napalm sticks to kids. There's like 30 verses. You get the point.
That's really nice.
It just keeps going with these like really weird tongue-in-cheek, almost like it's frustrating because it's almost funny, like the fact that he used the phrase crispy critters referring to burnt dead bodies. But the song is your typical, 70s schlocky folk song.
You know what it's like reminding me of is kind of like Dead Kennedy's Funland at the Beach.
Yeah, very much in the same vein.
Crushed little kids adoring the boardwalk.
Yeah, very, very much in the same vein. Like it's made to sound like it's almost humorous, but it's very, very much not humorous.
For those of you not in the know, Funland at the Beach is a song about sabotaging a roller coaster and watching it crush children.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even think to clarify that statement. Good catch. So the problem is, where would something like Napalm Stick to Kids go? It's based on true stories. It's, based on napalm droppings. And it's definitely not bizarre music. Like, this kind of has to fit into music with disturbing or unsettling background, I would think. Right?
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it's not actually a scary sounding song, I feel like that has to be acknowledged.
I pitched this to you. It's much higher than you would expect, but under Strange Stream music with unsettling subjects, I think that could fit right next to Timothy.
Okay, you're right. You do have a section of unsettling subject. Okay. No, all right. I will take that. I will accept that.
Yeah, because even though it is based on, a true thing, it's kind of like a vague, like it's not about one specific dropping of napalm on like a town or something. I don't want to say it's fictionalized. It's based on an event, but, man, we probably dropped a lot of that shit.
I know I saw a number at one point of the estimated amount, and let's just say it was a lot. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I remember thinking, oh dear God, that's just gross to think about.
Don't napalm people, American government.
No, that falls under other bad things that we're tired of.
You get a thumbs down from our podcast if you napalm.
Yeah, that's really going to stop them. All right, Chris, another wrench for me to throw into. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, how about that time that Weird Al recorded an album called Off the Deep End, and it ends with like a few minutes of silence, and then he randomly screams while breaking dishes for like 15 seconds. And when I was in 6th grade, it scared the shit out of me. Where does that fall? Does that qualify as anything?
I would put that right next to the murder and rape music. For what it did to my eardrums.
That's awful. No. Obviously, this is a joke submission. Jesus.
Well, okay, but you make a good point. Like, those kinds of like bonus tracks and stuff can really give you a nice jump after the break. It was a
musical jump scare. Like, that's really what it was, right?
I don't know if people are as familiar with this now that CDs don't exist, but this happened a lot in the 90s where there were like 10 minutes of silence and then something happened.
Yeah, and if you're like Sonata Arctica at the end of, I want to say it was Winterheart's Guild, there was a like few minutes of silence and then like a minute of someone playing acoustic guitar and muttering. Like, I have no idea why this was a hidden track, but that was a thing that existed. And then fast forward, now that was from the early 2000s, right? So remember, kids, in the early 2000s, we used to have to rip CDs onto our computers, and we'd save them as MP3s, and then you'd have to open that MP3 into, like, Audacity and cut off all the garbage at the end, because your MP3 player only had so much space, and a 15-minute long MP3 wasted a lot of space. God, that was annoying. I am so... Oh, I'm glad those days are over.
Man, life was so hard back then.
It really wasn't, honestly. It was a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what, though, there's an Acid Bath album called Pagan Terrorism Tactics.
Oh, okay. What is this?
And at the end of the album, there's a song called Dead Girl. And it's a very kind of chill acoustic track. And it's about 7 minutes of music and about 15 minutes of silence. After which, there's like a bonus poem. And that's the writer for Acid Bath, his way of writing was basically, I think, to get extremely high and just like consider serial killers and just like write weird shit like that. I mean, he was like 18 or whatever, 17 or 18.
Okay.
So it's just like a poem full of weird shit, and it's done with like very off-putting music, and the voice is all like deepened and distorted and shit. This song, I fell asleep to Dead Girl once, and this song woke me up in a cold sweat. Like, I had a fucking sleep paralysis nightmare all through the actual track, and then when it ended, I was allowed to wake up sweating.
That's right. I do remember this. You telling me this story before.
Have you ever actually heard the song, though?
I don't think so, no.
Here, because it's on Spotify now. Like, the bonus track is actually separated like it should be on an album.
Aw, that is exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
Fingered slowly, like the first time you came, the agents of oblivion descend upon the same, caked with mud and mother's blood, playing death games in the rain.
Oh god.
Yeah. Not what you want to be like semi-lucid to at 3 in the morning.
I don't want to wake up to that. That was really not okay. That was not a good time, sir.
Mm-mm.
I don't like whatever they did to that man's voice. I don't like any of this.
Yeah, it's not fun to listen to.
Okay. Well, good.
Good.
Chris, I would like to throw another, possibly the opening to another category at you.
Don't wanna be your monkey wrench. Go ahead.
Yes.
The Foo Fighters are terrifying.
No, that's not what I was gonna get at. No. How about, I'm gonna give you 2 examples here. One is one that I'm sure you know, if you ever stop and think about how weird it is. Mm-hmm. What the hell's going on in Rockabye Baby?
Well, see, Jeff, back in the 1800s, people couldn't afford baby rooms, so they used to put children up in trees so that the wolves couldn't get to them. I don't fucking know. Why is the baby in a tree?
And why are we just talking about the fact that it's just like, well, no, when the bough breaks, the baby will fall. Like, who wrote this? So we have your Rockabye Baby, and I would like to raise you Tilly Tilly Bomb, which is a Russian nursery rhyme, and listen to some of these lyrics translated. Close your eyes quickly. Someone's walking by the window and knocking at the door. Can you hear the birds through the night? He's already made his way into the house for those who cannot sleep. Hear his steps? He's already close. Can you hear someone next to you huddled in a corner with a penetrating gaze? Chris, what the fuck is this?
Is this about Santa? This is the weirdest Christmas song.
This is, I'm just gonna, if you feel like looking, I'm gonna send you a link to the translations, but it's, for anyone who wants to look it up, Tilibom, Tilly Tilly Bomb. It's 3 words. It's just another thing, and my proposal to you is I feel like we need a category for things that weren't meant to be creepy, but really are. What would you call that?
I don't know, because that's kind of like
because part of me is putting this up with Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Yeah, that's what I was aiming for with that level.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I kind of originally had it separated, is that it's stuff that was, just written with no weird intent, and it just makes some people feel weird. Yeah.
Unless some of it was intentionally weird. I couldn't tell you. I don't know who wrote some of these things.
Well, I think I don't know what it is with lullabies. I think there's a lot of them that are kind of like have some weird implications about them, but that's between them and God.
But we're not. Let's face it, a lot of these are hundreds of years old. We have no idea.
I bet a lot of it has to go back to I guess as a baby you're not really like doing this kind of thing, but I was thinking like a lot of like folk tales that we think are like really weird or brutal now were that way because like we needed to get those kids inside before dark. We needed those kids to like work until the field. So
there were
like
lessons.
because Yeah, so like because we need you to do this, we're gonna tell you if you don't till the fields, the fucking Norwegian monster cat's gonna come get you.
Yeah, there were lessons to be involved, and it absolutely makes sense.
Krampus is coming.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lesson there.
Yeah.
Chris, how about a couple that I feel like we just need to? I mean, I know where they're gonna go, but I feel like we need to at least acknowledge them. We can't
some
talk about
elephants in
scary
some rooms.
music. Yeah, we can't talk about scary music and creep music without recognizing. First off, let's start with Skinned. Skynd. I'm assuming, like you know who this is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
You
Again,
respond,
like bizarre music. No, I was taking it in. Bizarre music. I originally had like songs about murder under bizarre music, which because I know a few bands that like also they write not just about like murder, like Cannibal Corpse, like actual specific murderers. They write about. I mean, Slayer has a few songs about that, but there are bands dedicated to this.
Yeah, that's what
true crime
is.
Rock. I would call it true crime metal.
Yeah, so Skinned is very much a project that is entirely about, like, every song is literally just like a person's name, right?
Yeah.
Like a song will literally just be called like Jonestown. It's very much every song is telling the story about a true crime case. And I just think it needs to be recognized for people who are into that sort of thing.
On the thing of like murder rock, there's also, I just want to pitch Church of Misery, who like, you hate this kind of shit, but I think they're a really cool band that write exclusively about serial killers.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Church of Misery. I just think the music slaps.
I've
sent you this stuff before.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, like, absolutely, I think we should recognize them. Like, you know, get them out there. I think I would love to have a comprehensive list of everything I can think of that fits in these categories someday.
Murder Castle Blues by Murder Castle Blues parentheses H.H. Holmes is the serial killer is a really cool song to check out if you've just never heard of them.
Okay. How about Project Misanthropia by Stalag? This one is I don't know, what would you call it? Is this a black metal, death metal project? I don't know specifically what genre I'd put this in.
Extreme metal is a good enough umbrella.
It's an extreme metal, and the story goes that all the vocals are just the screams of people who were in a psych ward.
I think I want to put under bizarre music, but if we're making an iceberg, it's very close to music with an unsettling background. Because it seems like they had the permission of everyone involved, except for the people who ran the psych ward, because I think they did it kind of behind their back. But I think like the screams and stuff of the mental patients was all like cleared.
Yeah.
It's not like they found someone who like barely had a grip on reality and just recorded them screaming in their room.
No, and that's what people make it sound like, right?
Yes.
I have read multiple potential explanations for what really happened, and all of them amount to a lot more like, oh yeah, no, this was a bunch of people who were like mostly okay and they actually had a great time taking part in this project. And it was like totally cleared. But that doesn't make as good of a story. Like it's a very manufactured, exaggerated version of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna throw a couple weird curveballs at you, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are here. Because now we're gonna get into the category that
he's putting curveballs on the wrenches.
I'm throwing curveballs at the wrench here.
Curve wrenches.
These are in the category that I am calling pretentious music school sad music.
Yeah.
So we have things like Black Angels, which is a piece by a man named George Crumb. We have, insert Shostakovich string quartets here. Insert Threnody to the Victims of Hiroshima by, oh god, his name is dropping, Penderecki. So these are all classical compositions that are meant to evoke emotions, right? They're fairly unsettling. The theme of, obviously, the one is an ode to victims of an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Or you'll get pieces like The Banshee, who oh my god, I feel like an idiot. I'm drawing a blank on who wrote The Banshee as well, which is a piano piece that involves things like pounding the inside of the piano and scraping your hand against the strings inside a piano to make like these shrieky, waily, high-pitched, whiny sounds, right? It's pretentious classical music to a point. What would you call these? Or do these need to be their own category of, like, no one's actually listening to this? Shut up, Jeff.
No, I think that can fit under Strange Stream, because I don't think there's any. I mean, look, classical music is just mainstream music for pretentious rich people, right? So when pretentious rich people need to be sad, they think about Hiroshima and all the other terrible things they did to poor people. So, because the scariest thing to rich people is the idea that they might become poor and oppressed one day.
Oh my god! Wow, didn't expect that to take that. Okay, I mean, you're not wrong. All right, you know what? I actually like that. Let's throw it there. That's good. I have one more thing I want to bring up.
Sunday is gloomy.
Actually, it wasn't that. I kind of forgot about Gloomy Sunday, unless we want to talk about Gloomy Sunday. But Gloomy Sunday is a old folk song that supposedly people listen to and many people have committed suicide over. But again, this is a purely manufactured story. Didn't happen. People do not listen to this song and commit suicide.
That's
but
insane.
If you look it up, YouTube gives you warnings and suicide hotlines to call.
Okay, here's a question, because I don't remember and I might need to genuinely look it up. I feel like when I read this way back in the day, because I haven't done my reading on the Hungarian suicide song since I was a teenager, my apologies.
Yeah.
I seem to remember it's the popular myth was like the guy wrote it and then immediately killed himself, and then the first person to record it killed himself, and then someone else killed themselves, and then Billie Holiday finally recorded it and suicides went rampant. I thought there was like one person though who did actually kill themselves, not like directly after recording it. It's just like there is like one weird connection, not even a weird, but like one person who recorded it did kill themselves, and there was that like one kernel of truth in there.
So the problem is there's a lot of supposed connections to it, but almost nothing has ever been verified. The composer, oh god, sir, I have your name written down. Riso Siris. So he did commit suicide, right? The composer did kill himself. He killed himself 35 years later.
Yes, and that's why I said Colonel.
It's not like he wrote it and then committed suicide. Nobody like wrote it or recorded it and then immediately killed themselves. That's not at all what happened. Yeah. It is a sad, depressing, miserable song. Nobody has killed themselves because of this song. It is not haunted. It has a manufactured story because it makes for great clickbait videos and web pages in the early 2000s. Right?
Yeah, and if you need another like nugget of something, Billie Holiday's was banned, but it was due to like being detrimental to wartime morale.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a depressing song.
But so there's like maybe a nugget of truth in the radio ban, but only for like a couple years during wartime.
I mean, there's also the nugget of truth of Billie Holiday was a black woman during a very racist time and place.
Evidently, the ban was only lifted in 2002, so I guess there was a really long stretch of racism.
Yeah, but how much of that is someone wrote it down in the books and then it just was never thought of again? You know what I mean?
True.
Like, is it really, or was it a matter of just, like, negligence and forgetfulness for the most part? And racism, quite frankly. Yeah. Christopher, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I was going to get into another whole topic, but you know what? I will save it for some other day because there's no reason to get into some of this other stuff necessarily when it kind of all comes down to this, right? The deeper you go, I see a pattern here, okay? The deeper you go into creepy, disturbing, upsetting, unsettling music, more and more it is becoming music that is abrasive. Like, from an audio perspective, it is abrasive. It is staticky. It is noise. It is industrial metal. It is layers of effects on vocals, or it is old and staticky because it's an old recording, right? And it's almost indiscernible from music, right?
Yeah. So you're saying crunchy audio is scary?
Well, okay, kind of, in a way. Crunchy audio is scary because I think it's frequently just taken to be scary because it's not the norm. It's not what you normally hear.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. I don't give a damn. Because most of it sucks.
Wow.
Alright? Most of it isn't particularly interesting outside the story.
Damn.
I will never be able to sit and listen to Project Misanthropia because it isn't good music. It isn't interesting music outside of the story. When you remove the story, it is mediocre music of an extreme metal genre. It isn't really doing anything particularly interesting. We have talked before that in the early Norwegian black metal scene, Mayhem really weren't the be-all end-all, right?
Yeah.
They weren't the guys. They were just the guys who got murdered and went to prison. Okay, the Charles Manson albums are creepy because it's Charles Manson, but like, Look at Your Game Girl was a totally fine hippie song, right? If it was written by somebody else, it would have been forgotten to time, unless it was written by somebody who stayed famous. A lot of the genuine shock music isn't actually scary or spooky. It's upsetting to realize that these people exist. So my conclusion to all of this is that it's the top level stuff that I actually care about. Right? Like, if I want to get in the Halloween spirit, if I want to listen to scary music, I want a song that tells a story that means something. I'm going to go back to what I said before, that Frankie Teardrop is a more disturbing piece of music to me personally than any of this shit that we're putting in these bottom tiers. Right? Like, it is a song about a man whose life is just falling apart, and it is just bombarded at you for 10 minutes. But it's like listenable music. It's music that exists. It has a beat. It has rhythm. It has a melody.
Yeah, I mean, as it gets further and further down, it becomes just less structured music.
Yeah, it kind of loses, at a certain point, it almost loses being music.
Loses structure.
It's like, I feel like some of these people are, and I guess there's a point in just trying to be the most offensive, scariest thing ever. But at a certain point, when you are so inaccessible, it stops being scary, and I think it loops back around into being like a parody of itself.
Yeah. So edgy it becomes corny.
It becomes, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, it's like, oh god. I mean, here, to give a personal, perfect example is, the little one, the 7-year-old child in my life, saw pictures of, and I wish I remembered what band it was, early 2000s black metal. Insert which one here. Like, was it Emperor? Was it Dimmu Borgir? I don't recall. And her response to it was basically that they look stupid. Right? They don't look scary. They don't look threatening. They look dumb. They look, as a 7-year-old would say, they look cringy. Right? At what point do you just loop back around to, you are trying so damn hard to be scary that you completely failed? In my quest to find disturbing albums, I found something whose name I thought I had written. I feel like I lost half of my notes, because I'm scrolling through my notes, and some of the stuff I'm looking for just isn't here, and I don't know what I did wrong. There was an album that consists of 2 people. They're both like electronic and industrial music, and they literally had sex and recorded it and used those sounds as samples, and that was the basis of an album.
An
like
album?
Of an album. Like at one
I was
point
like really ready for you to say like a song.
No. It's like 30-some minutes long. In fact, here it is. It's Venetian Snares and Hecate. The album is called Nymphomatriarch. It is
I don't think I need
35 and a half minutes long. And it's totally serviceable, like, electronic music.
Yeah.
But it just so happens that it's samples of them having sex. And at one point, it literally, like, the music cuts and you just hear him say something like, "Oh yeah, does that hurt? You like that?" And then it goes back into the music. And it's just like...
So do you think they were playing up the sex, for the record?
Well, it's sampled. I mean, for all I know, it was 3 minutes of recording that they sampled and mixed and remade. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think he was like, no, we gotta like dirty talk a little bit more for the album, so that's
probably. Maybe, I don't know these people, but who cares?
So
it's dumb.
When you're listening to it, is he like, are they having like sensual sex or is he railing her?
Yeah, you really can't tell because again, it is very much like mixed into music. If I didn't tell you what the recordings were made of, you would not know. I mean, obviously there's also a lot of like actual, instruments and stuff here too. Like, I do not believe for a second that some of these noises came from people. Like, this is a synthwave keyboard, right? Not a synthwave. This is like a synth keyboard. Like, here's a bit called Hyman Tramp Choir. Is one of the tracks.
That's a nice song.
On the album. Oh yeah, here it is. 30...
It's an interesting album cover,
31
Jeff.
minutes. Does that hurt? Are you okay with that? And then it cuts right back into the music. This is the tackiest, dumbest thing I think I've ever heard in my life. And the problem is, it took digging. I had to dig to find that somebody decided this is one of the most disturbing recordings ever. This is dumb. A lot of this music is dumb.
I'm gonna be honest. I stopped digging at some point so I wouldn't get as mad as you are.
Well, I'm not an idiot, I'm an idiot and I didn't stop digging, and I should have, is the problem. Because I was just making myself mad, because at a certain point, once you get past people talking about Don't Fear the Reaper being like a sad, scary song, and when you get past people talking about their Halloween playlists, and you get into the stuff that is genuinely trying or genuinely is creepy or disturbing, I don't understand why most of it exists. It's kind of pointless. I guess it's notable because it exists.
I think I found a few bops in my travels.
I found a few things that I think are moderately interesting. I found people, and I gave you this name the other day. There's a band called Meth Witch, they're an extreme metal band that I think they do extreme, very extreme. Like, it really is some of the most intense metal I think I've ever heard. And it's impressive for what it is. It's not something I'm ever going to listen to, but I give it credit for existing for what it is. It's kind of cool, actually.
Jeff, did you find Warm Leatherette?
No, I don't know what that is.
Do you want to check out Warm Leatherette?
I get the feeling I don't, to be honest, but okay, what's up?
So Warm Leatherette is like, I think it would be considered new wave. It's just like a silly new wave song, except it describes in detail a car accident in which both people die, but as they're dying, they decide to try to have sex. And the Warm Leatherette is the seatbelt melting.
This is stupid. Like, you know that, right?
Here, I'm gonna send you Warm Leatherette.
Oh, surprise! It's another, like, techno-industrial thing. Shaw.
Yeah. I guess not new wave, but that's what I was thinking.
But, like, it's all fake sounds, is my point. Like, so much of this is electronic music, which I'm noticing. It's like, people can't create something scary or creepy anymore without just trying to make the weirdest noises possible. Yeah. And I feel like the only way to go any further is when we have like an album that's literally just recordings of people being murdered, right? And then they pass it off as songs and it gets on Spotify.
Yeah, well, okay, I mean, I'm gonna at least, give them the credit that this is 1978, which I think is kind of...
No, I mean, this is totally fine. I mean, this is
kind of early for that kind of thing.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, I find it interesting that so much of this music that I've stumbled upon is electronic. I mean, this is very musical. This is very listenable. It's goofy, but it has a beat and a rhythm to it, right? You've got this... Like, it's the thing. It's going on. We got music going on.
Hear the crushing steel. Feel the steering wheel. Hear the crushing steel.
Steering wheel. This is like if I described Frankie Teardrop to somebody without them ever hearing it and they had to remake it. Like, that's what this kind of is.
AI creates Frankie
basically,
Teardrop.
It's like someone explained what it was. Chris, do you have final thoughts on here? Because I kind of summed up my angriness here that, quite frankly, when it comes to scary music, I'm just going to go back to Frankie Teardrop and Alice Cooper.
Yeah,
right?
no.
Like a story like a song that feels like a horror movie is significantly more interesting and in a lot of cases more disturbing to me than some of the stuff that's trying too hard to be disturbing.
I have pretty much always thought that like the typical Halloween party music is the better choice for this type of this time of year. But considering a couple years ago we already did like what's on your Halloween playlist, I wanted to go in a little bit of a different direction.
Okay, but my results are the same. What's on my Halloween playlist is there because it's the stuff that's actually good.
So, what grade do you give the non-existent iceberg?
What grade do I give the non-existent iceberg?
Yeah, how many stars?
I give it 1. I give it 1.
Really?
I learn. Well, I'm sorry. I'll give it 2. Well, no, I'm giving the
Daddy by Korn.
If someone took what we're talking about and actually made an iceberg chart, and I stumbled upon it, I would give it a 2-star. How's that? Because I might have learned that a couple things exist, but I didn't learn anything that I actually cared about existed. It didn't actually benefit my life at all.
Jeff, let's do a real quick. What have you been listening to lately?
I was gonna say, Chris, do you want to get into that at all? I wouldn't mind it.
Let's do a lightning round.
Lightning round.
Lightning round.
Lightning
no,
round.
I don't think I can actually do a lightning round. I'm not fast enough for that.
Okay, go ahead.
Since we've last spoken, though, there have been some pretty good albums that came out.
Okay.
And I hope I can remember all of them because I haven't noted all of them. But
you are unreal.
The new shut the fuck up. Anyways, the new Alice Cooper is pretty damn good. The Road. I think the first 3 tracks were a little samey, but after that it got me into it.
Okay.
The new Baroness, fantastic album. They learned to mix again. I cried. It was beautiful.
Good for them.
Yeah, very very good album. We got new Sky Hill, which was
so good.
A surprise to me. I found out like
good.
A week before it came out.
Seriously?
Yeah, I knew that they were writing and recording it, but I had no idea that they finished and were releasing it. I just kind of like hadn't been caught up on the news.
I'm sad, but also like, oh my god, it's such a good album. It's so good.
It's an incredible album.
It's exactly what I wanted from them.
I mean, I knew that it was coming out soon enough that, I was able to listen to it on release day, so that's always a plus.
Oh yeah. You got anything else?
I'm thinking, but you know what? You start, and I can always pop back in at the end.
Oh, okay. I mean, well, just a few things here. So first off, I've been listening to a lot of Brian Setzer. Do you know Brian Setzer?
Yeah.
Does that name mean anything? Okay. So I'm listening.
It does. I'm not going to pretend I fucking know his work top to bottom,
okay.
But well, I know who he is.
So he released a new album that came out about a month ago, I guess by this point now, a little more than probably. It's called The Devil Always Collects, and it is really damn good. So Brian Setzer put me into a big rockabilly kick. Because like all people who grew up in the punk scene, you hit a certain age in your 20s and you have to make a choice. You either get really into jazz or you get really into rockabilly, or you unfortunately do what I did and you kind of get into both, right? So I've been on a big rockabilly kick. Thanks.
Please, in the comments, did you get into jazz or did you get into rockabilly? Those are your only 2 options. Please, in the comments, let us know.
If you were big in the punk scene. Have you never seen this? It's like a meme. Like, this isn't like me making fun of it. This is like a thing. It's like if you used to be in a punk scene, which one are you into now when it's the kid looking at 2 paths that split, and one side is jazz and one side is rockabilly? But they both involve people wearing newsboy caps, which is kind of the real joke.
Okay, former punks in the comments, jazz or rockabilly, and how long have you had your newsboy cap?
So getting into that, I went back and I found there's a few albums that came out this year that I missed that I'm really sad about. Like, first off, Batmobile, who are another rockabilly band, released an album called Brace for Impact, which is a ton of fun. And then there's an artist who I actually wasn't familiar with previously, and I'm assuming it's Elles. Ellis? I'm assuming it's Ellis Bailey, who, again, another rockabilly-like act, released a new album last year. A deluxe edition came out. It's called Shining in the Half-Light. That's a phenomenal album. So those have been dominating a lot of my listening to. And then, of course, Chris, Cher released a Christmas album.
Oh, I know.
It's just called Christmas.
How excited
Cher is 70-some years old. She released a Christmas album. And minus a couple songs which are a little weird. Like, I'm not super into Drop Top Sleigh Ride with Tyga. And her version of Home with Michael Bublé is a little weird. Otherwise, this is such a good album. Oh my god, I love this album.
Yeah, of
This
course
is
you gotta fucking come in here with your Christmas music and ruin my Halloween special.
I didn't mean to. I tried so hard to hold off on the Christmas music until after Halloween, but she had to go and drop this album 5 days ago or whatever, last week.
Once again,
so
I hate you, Cher. This is like the 7th time you've ruined my life.
Cher is how has Cher ruined your life? You know what? Never mind. I feel like that's not a story I need to know. Actually.
We'll get into it.
Chris, it's an amazing album.
Someday.
So Merry Christmas, everybody.
Let me see if I can do like a speed run version. So we got Road by Alice Cooper. We got Stoned by Baroness. Out in the Moonlight by Skyhill. I didn't say the album titles the first time around, and I want to correct that. Also, the new Primordial album, How It Ends, very good.
Okay.
Our friend Katie has released her Owlbear album. Did you listen to that?
I have not. It's in my albums to listen to, and I completely forgot.
Actually getting some acclaim. Well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it existed, because I've heard some of the songs, like some of the singles or whatever, that were released off of it, but I haven't listened to the whole thing. Oh, that's fantastic.
And, well, it's not technically out yet, but my copy of Jenny from Thebes by the Mountain Goats has arrived on vinyl, so I've listened to it. It comes out on Friday.
Oh, interesting that you got your vinyl before the album's officially out.
I love when I pre-order something and it comes before release date.
I'll say, because I pre-ordered Skyhill and it's still not here.
Well, that one said that
but I know it's running late. Yeah, I know, but just sad.
But man, when that happens anytime with like a album or a video game or something, man, I just get like a little bit happy.
It's actually always a good time. Or that time that I bought a Chris Cornell album a day or two before it was supposed to be released because someone at CD Warehouse fucked up.
Man, I'll tell you what, Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Little secret. A lot of time has the book a week before it comes out.
Do they really?
Yeah, a lot of time you can check the Thursday before it's supposed to drop, and unless it's like a high profile release, they a lot of times don't give a shit and just put it on the shelf.
That's actually pretty funny. I mean, I feel bad because it's not how it's supposed to be, but that's pretty funny.
Yeah. So anyway,
Christopher, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. I hope that we filled your treat bag with all kinds of shit you didn't want.
Yeah.
When we did Halloween Spotify playlist, I feel like that's when you got your Twix and your Reese's, and this year we gave you popcorn balls. I always hated popcorn balls, man.
Why?
I don't know. I just think that they're difficult to eat. They don't taste as good as just like a bag of popcorn.
That I can agree with. I don't think they're great, but I don't think they're awful either. I don't know. I never minded popcorn balls.
They were like my least favorite thing in the bag, aside from people who gave you like fruit or change.
Oh. Weird.
Yeah. What's your least favorite thing to get on Halloween?
I always hated those Mallow cups.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, they made me so mad.
That's so weird because you like marshmallow, don't you?
I do, but those Mallow cups are gross. They just, they were pretending to be Reese's peanut butter cups, and they weren't. Yeah. And they suck. Oh, God, they're the worst.
That's my friend's favorite. You and are going to have to hash this out.
Oh, you know what? This isn't the first time I have thought about something stupid. We're going to fight over it.
Okay.
Christopher.
Happy Halloween,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Fuck you! Fuck you! It's not time yet!